June 26, 2023. A busy airport. Travelers moving through terminals with luggage and coffee and the particular focused energy of people trying to catch flights. Retail stores lining the concourses selling everything from sunglasses to electronics to overpriced snacks that nobody needs but everybody buys anyway. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, a man making a decision that was about to go very badly for him.
How he looks like, so you guys can help us.
Do you know where he went?
That's what we're going around.
You know what that shirt says?
No, I don't know what it
Can
says.
you bring it back and open it, make it wider? So can you
Go, I'm taking 201.
Can you stop that? And
It doesn't look clear.
what does that say there? On this guy's shirt. Try to make it go again, maybe get another shot at a different angle. Are you guys want to press charges if you catch him?
We don't.
Okay.
He stole almost $1,000
Okay.
from us.
And would he walk over this way?
Yeah, he went like this way.
Chase
He's around stealing.
Yeah, Brooks on the plane. It's Robbie from Dallas to a 56 Sierra. It's a light-skinned male. He's pushing a small roller bag that's white with a bunch of different colors. He's got a blue shirt with green lettering on it, and he's got gray shorts and black sneakers. He was headed towards the atrium. The Brookstone store, and they're willing to press charges.
Copy, a white male, blue shirt, gray shorts, pushing a cart with,
No, he's got a roller bag that's white with different colors.
Airport officers were dispatched in response to a shoplifting report in progress. Not a small one. Not a candy bar or a magazine slipped into a pocket on impulse. Nearly $1,000 worth of merchandise taken from at least one retail location inside the terminal. The call went out and officers started moving. The report came from a store employee who had been on break when it happened. She came back and noticed immediately that things were missing. Items that had been there when she left were gone. She checked with her co-worker and confirmed it. Someone had come in, worked the store deliberately, and walked out with merchandise totaling close to $1,000. Not a smash and grab, not a panicked grab on the way past. This was someone who moved through the store with a specific intention and took what he wanted while the employee was away. The details started coming together quickly. The suspect had been seen putting items into his pockets. Not just one pocket, multiple pockets. He had worked through the store methodically, pocketing merchandise, moving around the floor, and then walking out. The store had it on camera. The employee had the footage. And the total when everything was counted came to $950 across multiple items. For context, $950 in a retail theft case is not a minor matter. In most jurisdictions, that figure sits right at the threshold where shoplifting stops being a petty offense and becomes a felony-level charge. Whoever this man was, he had either calculated that number carefully or had simply taken what he wanted without thinking about what it meant legally. Either way, the amount was significant and the stores were willing to press charges. The description went out over radio. A white male, blue shirt with green lettering, gray shorts, black sneakers, pushing or carrying luggage, described initially as a small cart with different colors before being clarified as a white roller bag with a colorful pattern. Dark-colored baseball cap. Moving through the terminal in the direction of the Brookstone store after leaving the first location. This is where airport shoplifting gets complicated for the person doing it. The exit options at an airport are not the same as a regular retail environment. In a shopping mall or a street-level store, a shoplifter walks out the door and into an open environment with 100 different directions to go. In an airport, particularly past the security checkpoint, the exits are controlled. The terminal has a finite geography. You can move between gates and concourses and retail areas, but you cannot simply walk out into the street. The officers responding to this call understood that and began working the terminal systematically. The suspect had not stayed still. After leaving the first store, he had moved through the terminal and entered at least one more retail location. He was shopping, not browsing in the way a traveler kills time before a flight, but actively moving through stores and taking things. The Brookstone location was mentioned, and then something shifted the entire dynamic of the search. An officer spotted him, not in Brookstone, in the Oakley store. The moment an officer identified the suspect in Oakley, the call went out immediately. Units were directed to the location. The man was right there inside the store, having apparently decided that the best move after stealing from one location was to walk into another one and continue. Whether this was confidence or obliviousness is difficult to say, but the outcome was the same. He was exactly where they needed him to be, and officers were moving in. The initial contact was immediate. An officer approached and asked for identification. The response was that he did not have any on him. No ID, nothing. Standing in an airport where identification is typically required to get through security in the first place, this answer created its own set of questions. Officers moved past it and focused on what they had. They had him on video. That was the foundation of the whole encounter. The store had footage of him taking merchandise. The employees had identified him. And when officers told him directly that he was on camera taking items from the store, his response was denial. He did not have anything. There was nothing in the bag, nothing at all. The bag he was carrying told a different story. Officers focused on it immediately. The roller bag he had been described as carrying through the terminal was right there with him. And the question of what was inside it was about to become the central issue of the next few minutes. Because the man was not interested in making this easy. He pushed back, not physically yet, but verbally, and with a posture that made clear he was not planning to simply comply and let the situation resolve itself quietly. He denied everything. He deflected. He insisted there was nothing there despite standing in a store he had just entered after being caught on camera in another one. The officers had seen enough. The next phase of this encounter was about to begin. The moment the suspect pushed back physically, the situation changed completely. What had been a verbal confrontation became a hands-on encounter within seconds. Officers moved in, and the attempt to take him into custody became a struggle that played out right there in the terminal. He resisted, not in a dramatic, explosive way, but in the persistent, grinding way that makes these encounters difficult and dangerous for everyone involved. Pulling away, refusing to comply with instructions, making every step of the process harder than it needed to be. Officers gave him clear directions and he ignored them. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind your back. Get on the ground. Each instruction was met with either physical non-compliance or verbal denial that he was doing anything at all. The ground takedown was the result. Officers brought him down and worked to get him secured. During the process, the man began claiming that officers had broken his rib. The complaint came quickly and repeatedly. "You just broke a rib in my chest." Officers responded that they had not and continued working to get him restrained. The claim of injury during an arrest is something officers deal with regularly, and the response was measured. They acknowledged what he said and kept going. Once he was secured, they noted they would get him medical attention if needed, but the priority was getting him under control first. The rib complaint did not stop the process. Hands behind the back, cuffed, on the ground. The physical part of the encounter was over relatively quickly once the takedown was complete. What came next was the slower, more methodical work of figuring out exactly what had happened and what they actually had on him. The evidence question was immediately complicated. Officers knew from the store reports that a significant amount of merchandise had been taken. Nearly $1,000 worth across multiple locations. But when they went through what the suspect had on him and in his immediate possession, something did not add up. There was merchandise, but not everything that had been reported missing was accounted for. There was another bag, a white bag with Disney Store branding that had been associated with the suspect during the search. It was not on him when he was taken down. Officers began working through where it might be. Had he dropped it somewhere in the terminal before they made contact? Had he passed it to someone else? Was there an accomplice moving through the airport independently while the suspect drew the attention of responding officers? The Disney Store element added another layer to the whole picture. This was not a single store incident. The suspect had apparently moved through multiple retail locations during his time in the terminal. The Brookstone merchandise, items from at least one other store, and now a connection to the Disney location that suggested a pattern of moving from store to store rather than hitting one place and stopping. The missing bag represented missing evidence, and officers were not going to close the case without accounting for it. The search for the second bag continued while the suspect was being processed. Employees from the affected stores were being consulted. Officers were checking the camera footage from multiple angles trying to track the bag's movement through the terminal. The working theory that he might have been with someone else gained traction as the bag remained unaccounted for. Someone could have been moving with him, carrying merchandise separately, and simply walked out of the frame when the arrest went down. The processing itself followed standard procedure. Everything found on the suspect went into evidence. His money, the items recovered from his possession, all of it was cataloged and accounted for. Officers explained the process directly to him. His money would go into a machine, and he would receive a receipt for it. He would get it back when he was released. The items recovered from the stores were a different matter. The suspect asked whether he was going to jail. The answer was yes. He asked whether he could simply go to a court appearance instead. The answer was still no. The process required him to be taken in, processed through the system, and then brought to a first appearance, which officers indicated might happen later that same afternoon, depending on timing. The man who had spent the morning moving through an airport terminal, taking merchandise from multiple stores, was now going to spend the rest of his day moving through the criminal justice system instead. One of the officers noted before leaving that the suspect had said he needed to stay out of trouble, an observation that landed with a particular weight given the circumstances. The time to make that decision had been several hours in several stores earlier. The legal outcome came later. The man was charged with grand theft in the 3rd degree and resisting an officer without violence, 2 charges that reflected exactly what the footage and the officer accounts documented. He took merchandise valued at nearly $1,000. He made the arrest harder than it needed to be. Both of those decisions had consequences. He pleaded guilty to both charges. Adjudication was withheld, meaning he was not formally convicted, and the guilty plea did not result in a conviction on his record in the traditional sense. But the sentencing was real. 6 months of supervised probation, 40 hours of community service, and a prohibition from returning to the airport. No restitution was ordered to the stores that had lost the merchandise. The withheld adjudication is a legal mechanism that exists in some jurisdictions to give first-time or low-level offenders a path that does not result in a permanent conviction. It is not an escape. The probation is real. The community service is real. The airport ban is real. And the record of the case exists regardless of the formal conviction status. What the footage captures more than anything else is the speed at which a bad decision compounds itself. A man walks into a store and takes something, then walks into another store and takes something else, then another. Each step feels like it worked because nobody stopped him immediately. And then the call goes out, the description goes over the radio, an officer spots him in Oakley, and everything that felt like it was working stops working all at once. An airport is not a mall. The geography is controlled. The security infrastructure is designed around the movement of people in ways that most retail environments are not. The cameras are everywhere. The officers communicate in real time. And once you are inside the terminal past the security checkpoint, your exit options are exactly as limited as the officers responding to that call understood them to be. $950. That was the number. The threshold that turned a shoplifting case into a felony-level charge. 6 months of probation, 40 hours of community service, and a permanent ban from the airport was what it cost. A decision made on a Tuesday morning in a busy terminal that followed the man who made it well past the moment he thought he had gotten away with it.